Go.
Hi, I'm Kirk Harbinger, and I'm with Bethany Gonyea. She is the founder of Numinous, which is the sponsor of the Peaceful Cities project.
Yeah.
And Bethany has been a practitioner in biofeedback for a number of years. She's also been experienced through meditation and has helped a lot of us over the years in actually getting better at meditating. So I'd like to ask Bethany a few questions. She's got something on Saturday coming up that's really exciting. And it sounds like you're going to be bringing a number of folks across the world together, Bethany. So can you tell us a little bit about that on Saturday?
Absolutely. It's so exciting. As you know, Kirk, I have this passion for teaching people about their nervous systems and about meditation and how meditation trains us to bring out the highest and best within us on demand. And so I've just been, as you've known for years, I've just been, wanting to teach everyone about their nervous system. This year, what's happened is we've started to partner with the Monroe Institute, which is one of the leading institutes for consciousness research around the world, and also the Institute for the Awakened Mind, also people who are EEG biofeedback practitioners around the world, and bringing together all of our lists to meditate, to open our hearts. And this time we're inviting people to open their hearts and send peaceful intentions to Minneapolis and beyond. To send peaceful intentions to that area for obvious reasons. And we're going to be asking people to do this every day for a week, for June 19th to June 26th. And so that's what we do. And I'm incredibly happy that we're going to be partnering with so many people around the world for all of us to make a profound impact.
That's great. So specifically, we're talking about folks in the US, Italy, and France in particular, right?
Actually, well, the Monroe list is global, so is the Institute of the Awakened Mind as well. So we'll have people from all over meditating, but what you're referring to probably is this exciting component that we've added this year. The exciting component is that I'm personally trained as an EEG biofeedback practitioner. For those of you who don't know what EEG is, essentially we're measuring changes in electrical activity in the brain. So we're measuring changes in brain waves. And when we meditate, our brain waves change their signature, so to speak, pretty significantly. And so there are a collection of us mind mirror practitioners around the globe. And what we've all decided to do is something really fun. Many of us are going to be connecting to the EEG, and we are connected through something called a mind mirror portal, which has been designed and created by my colleague, Andrew Tang, who is a software developer, and he's also passionate for consciousness research as well. And so he's designed this program where all of our brainwaves will go into the cloud. And what's going to happen is it's going to make kind of a composite brainwave, and it's going to be read by the world's authority on this type of research, Institute of EEG research, by Judith Pennington. So she's actually going to read all of our brainwaves to see are our brainwaves changing in similar ways at similar times. And people ask us, well, why are we doing this? Well, we're doing this to find out just more things about brainwaves. Can people on different continents, can their brainwaves match? Can we become coherent? Can we sync up with ourselves even though we're on different continents? So we're really just beginning this research. And yes, on this Saturday at 12 o'clock, we're going to have different people from around the world hook up. We're intending to do a Facebook Live, 12 o'clock, that's Eastern Standard Time. And we're encouraging people to click in and check in and see what we're doing, because this is going to start answering some of those questions. Everybody says, oh, we're all one, right? Or people want to say, oh, peace, we're all the same. Our concrete mind, when we're in these beta brain waves, we're like, what do you mean we're all one? What do you mean we're all the same? What do you mean that, in these other realms, we're all the same? And it's hard to believe when you're in beta brain waves, but when you go into lower brain waves and you start to feel this connection to a larger whole, that's when all of that type of understanding starts to make sense. And until more of us start learning about who we are beyond the physical body, then a lot of times we're going to keep being stuck, especially in the news. You see it in the news. That's all the clashing. That's all the everybody feeling separate and feeling hurt, and all of that. That's totally understandable. And I completely understand. But it's when we open our hearts and connect to something bigger, this larger field of intelligence, that's when we can start having conversations where people feel heard, where there's a nourishment happening, where there's that gorgeous kind of coming together of differences and paradoxes kind of holding themselves still in peace. And until we get to these types of brainwaves, these levels of consciousness, people are just going to keep bickering and fighting. And so that's part of this work, is encouraging people to learn how to tune themselves in this way to hold kind of opposite ends of a struggle, and to, as M. Scott Peck used to say, something like hold two opposites and not go bonkers, not get shut down on ourselves. How do we hold the big picture? How do we make our hearts so big that we can hold all of the struggle and all of the challenges and still be resourceful and not shut down and judge?
Very poignant, especially for the way things are right now in the world. So let's do this. Let's go back to just informational. Again, Saturday, 12 o'clock. And if I'm interested in the work that you do, and this is the first time that I'm seeing you, how do I sign up? How do I get involved?
Sure. Go to peacefulcities.org, peacefulcities.org, enter your name and email, and we will keep connecting you and keep filling you in as far as what's happening, where we're meditating, what we're doing, and you'll be notified on things.
Great. So, which leads me to my next question, which is, how does this all work? So you're talking about all kind of coming together across the world in real time, and the work that Judith is doing and Andrew, but what's the benefit of that? So great, we influence potentially each other in some way that'll show up on the EEG, but what is it about ourselves that we can do for ourselves and therefore for others? So I think you talk a little bit about happiness, resilience, and strength, and how they're related. One leads to the other. How can we do that through meditation?
So there's many different types of meditation. And I always say I never met a meditation I didn't like. I have deep respect for all traditions, all meditations. I'm particularly interested in, as far as everyday life, the heart meditations, the meditations where we anchor into our hearts and we lighten the heaviness in our hearts, essentially. And when we do that, we move into these more buoyant states of consciousness. So in our meditations, we use a protocol from an organization called the Institute of Heart Math, called the Heart Lock-In. And we are moving our awareness into our hearts and lifting off kind of burdens and resentments and just getting rid of some stuff so we can literally become lighthearted. It's called heart coherence. And the more we experience heart coherence, we become happy for no good reason. And so we would see this every year of doing a peace project. We would see people start doing meditations, and at the end of the week, they would be happier and they'd be more creative and they'd be taking on new projects. And we decided to measure it. So last year, we started to measure this change in the internal well-being. And we found that there was a 26% increase in happiness when people participated in the peace project. So this year, in general, the mood is pretty down. I don't need to have to say that, but anxiety is up, depression is up. Our mood is just, many of us are feeling sad. We're feeling much more burdened than we have been. And so by participating in this peace project, I absolutely can guarantee if you did this every day for 8 days, that at the end of those 8 days, you will find yourself in a very different place, a more resilient place, a more resourceful place, a place where you just feel like you have, like your burdens don't weigh you down so much. So that's the real personal benefit. Also, we're asking people to come meditate at different times. And when you meditate in a group, even though they're not in the same room with you, because we're connecting on these other fields, you will feel the lift of the group as well. So we're encouraging people to meditate at one of 3 times each day for those times: 7 a.m., 12 p.m., and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 7, 12, and 7 Eastern Standard Time. If you can't make it at one of those times, absolutely no worries, still meditate. But if you can catch the wave during those times, not only will you be lifting your own heart, you're going to be catching the buoyant wave of the people meditating with you as well. And
Tide lifting all the boats, right?
yeah, exactly.
So you talked about the Monroe Institute, Institute for Awakened Mind. And so it sounds like you're partnering with them to do this event. How are you working together with people and experts across the world to bring forward all of the work that you're doing and make a difference in the world?
Well, we're sharing this message. We're starting to work with other countries and wanting to, there's an invite out there to ask people, if you have a particular cause that you would ever want us to focus on, please reach out. Ordinarily, we do research in all of these areas. So ordinarily, when we partner with an area or a cause, it's this idea that when we send a peaceful intentions, or when we send intentions, we want to do measurements. And so, so we're looking to find partners on with whom we can do collective research with, and maybe measure things like maybe send intentions to reduce smog, maybe send intentions to improve water, send intentions to reduce violence. Ideally, it's really, we're willing to put these resources in any direction. We just need to have data. So if there are people out there that have data that they could collect, that our research team could analyze, that's essentially what we're looking for. We're looking for opportunities where we can actually do research to demonstrate the power of the human heart and mind to influence things at a distance.
That's amazingly exciting. And so, for the world and also for individuals. So can you dive just a little bit deeper on how we're able to impact each other across the country, across the world, but also how it works to help ourselves when we're able to meditate effectively, and what kinds of things can it really help in our lives?
Well, most people haven't been taught some very basics, and that's why I'm passionate about teaching people about their nervous system. Because if you don't know how some basics on your nervous system, you can just get so stuck. So for instance, here's a basic in your nervous system, that when you start to get stressed, you experience more of what they call beta brain waves. And when you go into high beta, you're super stressed. It's just the way it is, right? If you learn how to take your awareness, anchor it into your heart, sync your breathing with your heart rate, already you're moving down into low beta or alpha brainwaves. And alpha brainwaves are the brainwaves, you could say, of well-being, right? So if we don't feel, if we have all this beta brainwaves and all this choppy, fast, whatever, and we have no alpha, we're going to feel separate. We're going to feel miserable. We're going to feel depressed. We're going to feel like we're limited, that we have no resources. We're going to feel stuck. We're going to feel trapped. All that misery, basically high beta brain waves. When you learn to look at your consciousness and recognize, wow, my consciousness is a little stirred up. I just watched the news and maybe my thinking just got a little more racy, a little bit more fast. I'm a little bit more.
That happens to a lot of us. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And but the idea that the mastery of this work is that then you come into knowing where you are, but then you can toggle yourself. It's almost like tuning an instrument to tune yourself back into well-being. And for people to have the real gritty knowledge of how to find that landmark back inside of yourself and find your way home, that's the power of this work. And the more you find your way home, the more you want to stay there. You don't want to go off into beta brainwave land. You just want to stay in well-being. You get addicted to feeling good. And then when you get addicted to feeling good, you wouldn't want to ruin it by trying to get a substance to feel good, or trying to overdrink to feel good, or to overeat to feel good. You feel good already, so you wouldn't want to ruin it by using a substance to ruin it, kind of thing. Whereas many people are using the substances they think to get there, but the substances, as we know, always kind of trip us up even more.
So it sounds like happiness breeds happiness.
Absolutely. And so, and another thing is to develop a tolerance for happiness. Right? So that's one of the things that we train here at the Global Peaceful Cities Project, is how much can we tolerate feeling good feelings? How much can we tolerate sweetness? We've gotten to a point where I call us emotional diabetics. We can no longer tolerate sweetness. Something good happens, we wait for the other shoe to drop. Something good happens, we poke a hole in it right away. Something good happens, we think, oh, it's never going to last, it's going to go away. And we can't even enjoy feeling good without automatically just somehow pulling ourselves back down. So we've got to build a tolerance. We need to learn how to tolerate feeling good feelings. And that's where resilience comes in. And that's where beauty comes in. And that's where we really start to live the grand journey that we're meant to be here for. But our beta brainwaves are making us miss our lives. Who was that? Who was it? Was it John Lennon? What is it? We miss. Oh, life is what happens when you're making other plans, right? So it's this idea that we're missing the big story of our lives because we're all in this beta brainwave loop and being pretty miserable. So we want to remind people about the gorgeousness within, and then all good things happen. We've seen it year after year.
So Bethany, how is the work that you're doing related to the current events across at least the US, and obviously with COVID-19 across the world? But the unrest in the US now. And then I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the work that you've done this past week in preparing for Saturday's meditation, and how you were inspired by going back and looking at Martin Luther King's speeches and some of the things that he said.
Absolutely. Well, we had heard especially that the more COVID was continuing, the more depressed everybody was getting. And again, we had our research about how mood increases. So we were already planning on doing a peace project to help with COVID to increase mood. And right as we were launching that, that's when, Mr. Floyd and all of that. So I just felt as though we needed to change direction, and we needed to start, we were going to go just towards mood. And then it was this amazing, I'm going to call it an opportunity right now. And that is this opportunity for all of us to open our hearts and to be teachable, to be malleable at this point, to be willing to break open and see the events around us from a different perspective, and maybe take in the other a little bit more. And so what happens when we do heart coherence is that's exactly what happens. We create this larger space so that we can hold other well. And so we decided to change the emphasis of the Peace Project to move towards that, and to having people have more open hearts to be able to hear each other. And so we decided to launch it on Juneteenth, and which is June 19th. And for those of you who aren't familiar with that day, that was the day in 1865 when African Americans were informed that they were no longer, that was the end of slavery. And so it's a celebratory day every year. So we decided to start our event on that day. It seemed apropos. And then when I was thinking about the meditation, I write meditations all the time for different groups with different intentions. And I really steeped myself in the news, and I steeped myself in different perspectives, and I prayed about it. I sat in the field, and I was thinking, how do I do this? How do I do a meditation that holds this really high vibe frequency and enables all of us to feel heard, well, and acknowledged? And, who would I go to? Of course, but, Martin Luther King's speech himself, because in the Peace Project here, we talk about living an intentional lifestyle, this idea of living by intention and focusing our mind and being able to kind of hold our vision, even if the world is kind of coming at us, to hold our vision, even though we get things challenged by it all the time. And MLK to me was such an amazing demonstration of that. I mean, here he was being persecuted in so many ways. He had so many challenges in his own life, and he was totally living the intentional lifestyle. He just kept saying, I have a dream. I have this dream. And this dream is that, children, little black boys and girls will sit with little white girls and boys, and that they were going to sit together. And in that speech, he gave us all these concrete examples of what the world would be like, if things were, if we loved each other. We weren't just politically correct. It wasn't that we just tolerated each other, but that we would have this beloved community where people would come and support each other and love each other. And he talks about the oppressed and the oppressor, coming to embrace each other and coming to be released together, kind of thing. And so it was, so in the meditation that I crafted, it was about, let's dream with MLK now. Let's release both the oppressed and the oppressor together and have them have open hearts for each other and to hold each other with reverence, nobility, integrity, and honor, right? And so that's really what I wrote in the meditation, and for us to be able to hold that and honor that. You see, what happens with intentions is we set an intention, or we'll say, I want to create this in my life. And then we start arguing with it. We start talking about all these reasons why it can't happen. So in this meditation, I want to be able to hold this honor, this nobility of the human condition, of who we all are, and to hold it with reverence and honor and dignity, because until we can create it in our mind, we will never create it outside of ourselves, right? Until we create it in our hearts, we'll never create it out in the world. Until we are able to hold the thought in our mind and not argue with it, then we're just going to keep watching this ridiculous that's going on. All of the, people fighting in their heart and people getting hurt and all of that. We've got to be able to build a bigger container to hold each other more with a more sacred creation. And so that's why I created this meditation.
It's a beautiful synergy. And, it sounds like you're going to be able to help facilitate us through that, through the meditations. And also what we get back is, 1,000-fold. So we certainly look forward to experiencing that with you.
If I could just say one other thing is, when we hold those paradoxes, we move into wholeness. And when we move into wholeness, we move into healing and we become more integrated. And those are more elevated states of consciousness. And so just know that we're coming into our own being. We're coming into the essence of who we all are when we do this work. And I'm just going to invite people to come journey with us, because we're going to all pull ourselves, all going to have an opportunity to pull a part of ourselves back into wholeness as we do this.
And therefore each other, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, Bethany, I'd like to just thank you for this introduction to the work that you're doing. And we're very excited to watch and to participate. So we're looking forward to Saturday's meditation for sure.
Thank you so much. And I just want to give a shout out also to the Monroe Institute, because the Monroe Institute has, they have something called what they call Monroe Audio Support, which basically they add particular frequencies to music to help people lift their consciousness. So if you've been really struggling, you've been really anxious, really depressed, know that also the music is going to be supporting us in such a way. For instance, it's going to emphasize alpha brainwaves, which are the alpha brainwaves of well-being. It's going to emphasize delta brainwaves. So delta brainwaves, think of them being the brainwaves that more connects us to the field around us. And then also gamma brainwaves, which are happiness. So understand that the music as well, not only the meditation script itself, but the music is going to be supporting well-being as well. So I wanted to give a shout out to Monroe for that, because they've been very gracious to offer us their sound technology for our work. And we're really thrilled that they're partnering with us.
Beautiful. So it sounds like we'll be getting our gamma on Saturday.
I'll use that. Thank you. Yes, Gamma on Saturday, starts on Friday, 7, 12, and 7 for 8 days. And we'll be sharing out along the way, and stay tuned, because we're going to be putting more and more thought leaders out, featuring them as far as consciousness and what's it like to live from this larger understanding that there is a portion of you that water can't burn and fire can't get wet. There is a portion of you that is non-local. And when you start to come to under that understanding that you are more than your physical body, what else can you do in this world? It's pretty darn cool once you start using that portion of yourself as well.
And it starts with you. So you can make a difference
Absolutely.
for yourself and in the world, for sure.
Yes.
Great stuff. So again, peacefulcities.org is where you can sign up. You can participate moving forward. Certainly you'll be having more events than just this. And you do offer some tools and skills for meditation and biofeedback techniques. So more to come. Stay tuned. And we appreciate your time. Bethany Gonyea, founder of Numinous and the peacefulcities.org. Thanks for being with us.
Kirk, you've always been so helpful over the years. God bless you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye. Peacefulcities.org.